welcome back to What the Fertility. Today it's just Kat and I, and we're excited to talk with you guys about kind of an update on Kat's life. It's been pretty wild, and she may possibly have finally gotten a diagnosis. We still don't know for sure, but let's like jump in and hear all the things because it's been crazy.
Yeah, I feel like this is literally the whole what the fertility. Like what the
Yeah,
F?
100%.
I swear I feel like that's been the last couple of weeks. And I never in a million years thought we would be talking about like me this year. Like
Oh,
I just
I know.
didn't.
Wild. I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's when it's like honestly, you just like never know what's gonna happen.
you never
Like you can
freaking know.
truly plan for so many things and like
Yeah.
life
And then
just
like
throws you a
literally,
curveball.
yeah, like we planned for this not to happen.
Honestly.
But yeah, so I guess the last time we were on, if you don't like follow me on like my personal Instagram or if you don't follow like the random stories that we'll share on the fertility account. So the last one we did, it was so sad. Everybody was like, "Oh, I'm so excited for you," and like would reach out separately. And I'm like, "Oh, it's
Uh,
okay. Like I've already miscarried." So well, there we go. So on Saturday we recorded like a last month, I guess. And then on Monday, I actually passed the baby at home. And I think I was telling you this, which it's all fine. I'm fine, right? But that was our seventh loss. And I was telling you like, well, let me get into it, I guess, because it won't make sense from here. So we passed the baby, and for some reason, I just like really wanted to test it because I like test the tissue. And typically, like you do that when you have a DNC. And did I hear you say, Amanda, that you did that with Shiloh at home or no?
so I like got him out of the toilet. I know that's like wild, but yeah. But we didn't test him. We just
Okay. Oh, you
like
were,
our own little.
well,
Some people may think this is so weird, so sorry if you do. But we like buried him and did a whole little thing. Um,
so
so we
no.
didn't test, but we like I mean which was the craziest thing, and I've never. I mean, this is like trigger warning to the max, but
Right.
like literally like looking at because it was fully in the sack and everything. Like
Yes.
I
100%. Yeah.
saw like
Yep.
I mean it's
Yep.
so little, but like I saw like a little.
But it's big enough. Yeah.
I mean it was wild, wild.
Right. Okay. But I'm really glad you said that because, like, I think I need to go deeper here. So, I actually, when we passed the baby, I was like, do I do that? Like what you just did? Because I felt like, testing was pretty, like, I kind of feel like it's a little cruel, but then, like, there's just so many emotions. And so, out of all seven, this was the second one I passed at home that was like big enough to your point, like you could tell it was a baby. And the first time, I think we talk about this on one of the episodes, maybe even the first one, like I flushed the toilet. And that was back in 2020. And so almost 4 years ago. And like I vividly remember I would never do that again. Like I remember I flushed the toilet and I was like so pissed. Like I was so mad. It was all anger that I did that. And the second that I did it, I like completely regretted it. So, anyways, that's kind of leading up to like the forethought that I had with this baby. I was like, if this happens, I'm going to handle it differently. And I think this is what I was going to say. I think I was talking to you about, I really want to create like so I don't want to like anybody to steal it, but like a miscarriage survival guide and like create like just like a blueprint and like create education for people that like you can take your baby or the tissue that you pass at home, you can take it in
Mhm.
and your OB is basically obligated if you ask to send it out for testing. And so what we used Natera, which I don't think you can have your own opinions. My office uses a Natera and it's called the Anora testing, Anora. And so I literally caught the baby. This is such a weird, like, I mean, I guess I could give really big details, but like I was wearing a pad and like, so that's how I like passed the baby literally standing up in the kitchen feeding my daughter
Felt
dinner.
it. Isn't it
Yeah. Oh,
wild?
I felt it immediately and went upstairs. And Josh was like, "How did you?" And I was like, "Oh, because you can feel it.
Oh,
Like to your
yeah,
point, it was big.
wild. Yes.
Yeah. So, anyways, that was dramatic. And so then at that exact moment, I was like, okay, I'm gonna at least keep it. And it was Monday, it was a holiday. So nothing was open and it was at night. So I like had a little bit of time to think about it. But they tell you, so I didn't do this and maybe I should have, but contact solution to rinse it with contact solution. I guess it's the same. And I'm silly because I don't wear contacts, so I didn't have any, but I don't know if it's saline or what it is, but it's similar to what they would use like in the lab. So to kind of like rinse it off in contact solution and then put it in a container and like store it in your fridge, which is just
It's
that
probably such a mind app though, of like,
it was, and I will tell you, this was my seventh one. I could not have done that. I didn't, right? Like that was our third law, our third or fourth third loss where we passed it at home. I couldn't even like take it out of the toilet. So I'm speaking from experience. So it was just something, and and I had 4 years to think about what would I do in this situation. So I think it was just very like methodical, right? And my OB was amazing. I just was so thankful that I think is Labor Day? Is that what the holiday was? Okay. I
uh,
always get Labor Day and Memorial. It was
oh,
Memorial.
it was Memorial Day. Labor
Memorial
Day
Day.
at the end. Labor
Okay.
Day in
But she
September. Yeah.
there we
Yeah,
go.
Memorial
That's
Day.
right. That's right. Memorial Day. But she was so great. She answered the phone, told me what to do, which it was awesome. So anyways, stored it there. And then even then, like it was overnight. And the next morning it was like, I have to like take this in, drive it in, and like hand it over. It was just like, it's not none of it's easy, right? And so I still was like, I'm not gonna really do this. Like, what's the point? What's the point of doing this? And for me, the reason I made that decision to test, because I was really torn. I was like, this would be so beautiful to do like a burial and like have like a remembrance because I like am in the right headspace to do something like that. However, like I now have had 8 pregnancies, 7 losses, and have had zero diagnosis. Like nobody has been able to tell me like what was wrong or even like why I was able to have my daughter. Like nobody could tell me. So I was like, if testing can help in any way. And I think maybe you and I talked about this of like, I was kind of on the fence of like, okay, I've had a live birth. Do I still have the same issues I had before? And so to then like have this miscarriage unexpectedly, I'm like, okay, was this a true like 1 in 4 miscarriage? It was an abnormal, fetus. It was going to happen no matter what my environment was, or is there still something like, I don't want to say wrong with me, but you know what I mean? Is there a hormonal imbalance? Is there a uterine receptivity issue? And so that was my decision. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. So took it in. I'll try to speed this up, but basically, like we got the first round of results back really quick, like within like half a week, I feel like. And it said maternal cell contamination. I told you that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
does that basically mean though? It's just like they don't.
So they can't tell. Well, I mean, it's so funny. It's like the specimen was stored incorrectly. And I think I texted you. I was like, yeah, it probably was. Like
Yeah, yeah, right. I don't know what I'm doing. I literally like
I literally put it in like
I put it in a cup. I don't know, like 100%.
I put it in the cheese department of the fridge. Like I don't know.
Yeah, there
But
was
it
some
made
weird odor to this.
right. Well, Josh is so like methodical. He had like cleaned like the whole thing out. And so it was just this one little anyways. So maternal cell contamination basically means that they couldn't, and I may not get this fully right, but my blood was mixed with the fetus's blood that they were like they're testing tissue, so maybe it was the tissue was mixed, but it does make a little bit more sense now. I'll kind of like jump forward. So the baby was a female, and so when you do have female, I think it can make it a little bit harder for them to distinguish what's the maternal, what am I looking at? That's the moms, and what am I looking at? That's the babies. And so my OB thankfully was just like run it again, which I think they can do. I mean, I don't know if that's just standard that they'll try to run it again. So basically, maternal cell contamination just means inconclusive. We can't tell you. I think I even texted you and other few close friends. I was like, oh, like we aren't getting any answers. Like it's inconclusive. It is what it is, like whatever. Okay, so then fast forward maybe another 2 weeks. Like this one took a long time. Then it was like another 2 weeks for it to come back and it pops up. I think I'm like in the middle of the workday and I'm like expecting just abnormal. I'm not like, I guess, like emotionally invested in the outcome. I'm like, it's a normal or it's abnormal. I've always had normal results, like with these babies that we've had tested. If it's abnormal, which is what I was hoping for, I was like, great, I'm going to cancel my REI appointment. We'll just try again. Um, but it was very abnormal. Did I end up sending you the write-up?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Let me read this to you because people are like, I think anything I've shared, and if you've heard me share, people are like, well, I don't understand. Like, what do you mean it's like really abnormal? So this is kind of what's prompted this whole, I don't know, chain of events for us. So it literally reads like results abnormal female, and it is always super gut wrenching to like find out the gender of your baby. Like you're like, ugh, yeah, it just sucks. Again, this one was just like, I think I was like reading this and trying to process, and like as I'm reading it, I'm like, wait, did I also just get a diagnosis for like the last 7 babies I lost? So this is what it says. Okay, it says abnormal result, microarray analysis showed evidence of complex mosaicism involving multiple regions of chromosome 2. The complexity of this region is termed chromothripsis. Okay, so just remember that word and we'll go into that after this. Da, 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 da. Due to the complexity of this finding, parental origin cannot be ascertained. Imbalances of chromosome 2 have been previously reported in miscarriages. This is incompatible with fetal survival, or result in still there's a lot of stillbirth talk here. So then it says parental high resolution chromosome studies are recommended to rule out balanced chromosome rearrangement carrier status, so otherwise known as like balanced translocation or balanced inversion. It says we recommend providing a copy of this report to the laboratory to perform parental testing. Genetic counseling is highly recommended to discuss the significance of this result, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, like that's not just like an abnormal,
No,
right?
100%.
There's like 4 or 5 different like trisomy 21, trisomy 13, Downs. There's all of the abnormal results. So this one, so listen to this crap. So anyways, I like run upstairs, I tell Josh, and like he's just so like empathetic, like so much more than me, maybe. I think he is. Like I'm reading all this and I'm so fast, so fast, so fast. And he's like, so it was a girl.
Oh,
Like we're just so
such a good girl dad too. I'm like,
I know he
oh,
was like,
please,
so it was a
gosh.
girl. I know. And I think that too is so difficult when you've been through so much. You also just don't take the time, just like a normal person would be like, oh my God, we lost a baby girl. And, we really want another girl. Like we would like 2 girls. Oh my God. Like that. So I think that was just really like really hard for him. And also, half of that shit doesn't make any sense, like chromothripsis, genetic counseling, balanced
Gosh, I'm like, what the
rearrangement.
hell did I just read? Yeah.
Right. So I think he just kind of was just like, what are you talking about? So I employ a genetic counselor for our high risk MFM clinic. So I immediately text her and I'm like, send her the picture. I said, call me.
100%.
So I'll
Amazing.
fast forward, but I've met with her. I've met with her now officially. And then I've also met with the 2 MFM doctors that I also employ. So they both were like, let me come in and like, we were all just kind of chatting.
Yeah.
Met with the REI and met with my OB. None of them in their careers have seen this type of abnormality. My REI was so great. He said, he was like, I was up reading about this. So chromothripsis is, and gosh, if you know more about this than me, anybody like listening, I am just now learning about this. And like Amanda, I think you know me, like I feel like I'm always like up on like the next thing.
She knows all the things. Normally, I'm like, hey, Kat, okay, tell me what this means. Like,
I
explain
I really don't I
layman
really don't
terms.
think I do. And this, and even the doctor was like, the REI was like, you could try to research it. There's one article out there. So I'll do my best. So chromothripsis is basically found in cancer cells. So it's just like this, like, yeah, so it's like this massive duplication of your cell. And that's like actually if you Google it and look it up, it's anything you're gonna find is cancer. Yeah, it's really odd. So the first question I had for the genetic
Do I
counselor
have
said, do I
cancer?
have cancer? It was literally the first thing I texted
I
her. I was
mean,
like,
100, I would have been too. Like,
do
test me
I?
right now. Like, what?
Right. Cause I'm like, wait, did like
So scary.
yeah, I like was so confused. And she's like, no, like she was laughing. She's like, no, it's not the same. So, which is still weird. I still don't understand that. But in 2012, that was the first time they've ever seen chromothripsis in an embryo. I'm like, wait, what? I know. And
That's
all
not
of my
long ago at
doctors,
all. Like,
yeah, all of my doctors, other than the genetic counselor, she's younger, but like all of them were out of school by 2012.
gosh.
I did ask, I was like, do you think that's not that it wasn't around, but that like they didn't have like the advancement in technology? And they all were like, yeah, it's definitely just because it's like they can test for more things.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do my best. I'm like learning more every day. So balanced translocation, and we should have, I think we've had, oh my gosh, who was the couple? They're gonna kill me. The couple you and Chris recorded with.
Oh, yes.
Katie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay,
Katie.
so her husband actually has
Yeah.
balanced translocation on the male side.
Yep.
And I was like watching YouTube videos about it. So I understand balanced translocation. They don't think we have that. So, but they think we have like a subtype of that. So balanced translocation is when the baby, I'm gonna say his baby's created. Again, I don't have the right words, but when the cells are dividing and forming, one chromosome for, I'm not even going to explain it. Basically, the chromosomes mix max. So like part of chromosome 2 might be on your chromosome 14, and it's all
They're
mixed
supposed to
max.
pair together, like a two and a two are supposed to go together.
Yeah, but which balanced translocation is just part of it. So you have like a break point. So part of the chromosome is
Uh,
translocating to like the other.
got it.
And again, like people are probably listening, rolling their eyes. They're like, that's not what it is. I am still doing my best to learn, but I've never really went down this route because after our second loss, so we had two chemical pregnancies, we did a full reoccurrent loss panel and we had karyotype testing, which the results that I just read to you basically said, you need to counsel the parents that they need karyotype testing. Okay, well, we've already had it. And so what they do is they draw your blood of both you and your partner, and they physically, like we have a piece of paper with all of our chromosomes out. So it's like our two chromosome ones, our two chromosome twos, and we could see what they look like under a microscope. It was like
Fine.
yeah, it was like 2 grand per person. It was super expensive, but we did it. It
Yeah.
came back completely normal, like super, super normal. So
And
it
the
shows that
only way for an embryo to have this if one of the parents have this, or no, not
er,
necessarily.
so
Because like way over my, my
so
head there.
no, so I
Science.
know it's very confusing. So the chromothripsis, it could have been a extremely bizarre event, like very, very, very rare event that it just happened. It is heavily tied to balance rearrangement disorders because, so think this is bizarre. So what he was explaining to me and what I've read online too is there was a catastrophic event. That's literally what the scientific term is in either in mine or Josh's, we don't know, in one of our chromosomes too, and it basically exploded and it tried to put itself back together. And so
There's
the chromosome that
no, like, there's not anything that happened. Could it be like his autoimmune? That's like catastrophic.
but
Sorry,
it's
not to
just
go.
this.
I know this is probably a
No,
lot,
I know. Trust
but
me, that's how
like,
my brain's been. And so basically with this one, so it's not just like, so if you have Down syndrome, that would have come back as like an abnormal embryo. And it would have explained that there was an extra chromosome, there'd be the extra
yeah,
chromosome.
yeah,
I had tens and 20s and there was like hundreds of multiple, I don't think there was hundreds, but there was multiple of chromosome 2. So there wasn't just like, oh, there's 3 chromosome 2s, there's 4, there's 5, there's 6. There was just excessive amounts of chromosome 2s in this baby. Like it just like think about like something that just started like duplicating on
that's
accident.
insane.
So yeah, so it just was something that they never seen before. And so anyways, they think that when you look at chromothripsis, basically it's a similar concept of balanced translocation. What happens with balanced translocation carriers is the chromosomes are getting sticky and they're getting stuck to each other. And when they're trying to pull apart, it will explode, kind of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it
I know
does.
none of this is
No,
making any
no,
sense.
I'm following you. No, this honestly is like the first time I'm getting it. This, yeah,
Right.
good.
It's a whole thing. We were like on YouTube watching like the most dumbed down videos ever. So long story short, before we go super deep in it, number one, we are getting, and like this is again kind of plays into like where my mindset is. Like we're gonna do a high resolution karyotype, which I asked like, well, y'all,
You paid for that. Like, why wouldn't you do the
why
best
wouldn't everybody
one?
just do this from the beginning? Like this doesn't even make sense. So something about like a 500, they're looking at 500 band. Someone looking at these chromosomes through a microscope, and the high res just means it's a better microscope per my REI and genetic counselor. And I'm like, why doesn't everybody just use the nicer microscope? I mean, maybe I'll get the bill and find out why.
Yeah,
But
probably.
I just have to go to LabCorp. And here's the thing, like my mindset, like I haven't even gone and gotten the blood drawn. Like, like old me would have been
Oh, yeah,
there.
you've been
I would
there.
have
First
I would have
thing.
nothing would have been more important than getting that test, but I'm just like, ugh. So I will get that. I think I'm gonna get it tomorrow. And then it does take like 3 to 4 weeks to come back. And then Josh has to get it as well, with the high. And so that can look a little bit more about balanced inversions, which it doesn't pick up as much as a translocation because, and let me back up too, with balanced translocation and inversions, no DNA is lost. So it doesn't, when you ask me, so because I'm like, my mom keeps being like, but you have Brooklyn, but you have a really healthy daughter. I don't understand how you have a genetic issue that would make it difficult, difficult for you to have kids or that would always cause you to miscarry. The baby only needs one chromosome from each set of parents. So when it is forming, if it picks your healthy chromosome that doesn't have the inversion or doesn't have the translocation, there's three outcomes. You can have completely like healthy baby that doesn't carry the inversion or the translocation. You can have a baby that's completely healthy that does carry it, but again, like either Josh or I have it if we have it and
Yeah.
we're healthy, until now we started to try to like
Yeah.
reproduce.
Yeah.
Or the third option is what likely happened in the last pregnancy is like there's just severe abnormalities. It's just not gonna, you can't like have somebody live with like 13 chromosome twos.
Yeah.
So those are kind of, and I think the YouTube explains it. Maybe we'll link it in the show notes. But
And is
anyway,
there a way to test Brooklyn, or you wouldn't want to do
there
that?
it would be the exact same way as
It's just
testing
blood
us.
work.
It's literally just blood work. Yeah. And so yeah, because my dad asked too.
Would
So I
you be
think
open to that, or no, you don't want to know?
well, it'll depend. So like if I again, and it's only going to be me or Josh that have this. And
Yeah.
so we or neither one of us, which is going to be like the craziest outcome of all. So in like a month, Josh and I will have our results back and it will either say, nope, everything looks completely normal. We cannot explain what happened and it was bizarre and you have a history of bizarreness, right? Like it's just like
There's no way
you
to know.
don't have it.
Yeah.
Or it'll come back and it'll say, yes, like Kat, you have it. You're the carrier. And it's like likely on these chromosomes or just this one chromosome. Or it'll say like, yes, Josh, you have it. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no like medicines you take. Like it is your DNA, it's your chromosomes, and it's what is a genetic inheritance.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then that would mean those like either your mom or dad then. So like it can just
Yeah.
keep going back, right?
Exactly. And so what to your question of like, would you do it for Brooklyn? Absolutely. Well, I think absolutely. Why not? It's just a
Yeah.
blood draw. So like if one of us have it, I'd like to know because she could have either not inherited it or she could have inherited it. And
Yeah.
then like that's such good information to have. Like,
Oh,
oh
for
my
sure.
gosh.
If she knew
Like if
this,
I
like,
knew that,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But then that kind of gets into IVF
Mhm.
because it's like, I think if you follow like balanced translocation stories, I know like yearning into motherhood was one. A lot of them end up being able to conceive really quickly. Like, and it could be because like this could be Josh, and like there's literally everything I just wasted money on for the last 5 years. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like acupuncture and the vitamins and the
Yeah.
the anti-inflammatory diet and oh my God, all the shit we did, right? Like to try to get
Yeah.
pregnant just to find out that it's genetic.
Yeah. Who knows? No, but you didn't
Um,
know, you meant well, and you were obviously just trying to do everything possible to like get it.
Right. And like my REI, like I feel like I'm talking in circles, but he is so awesome because he shares the same mindset I share. So, we somewhat started talking about IVF again, and he's like, he was really upset that I had a pretty poor experience. And I was like, you know what? Like I am thrilled, number one, that I didn't know this information until now. And I'm thrilled I had a horrible IVF experience because I got pregnant with my daughter the next egg that came out of my body. And
Oh,
he even said, he's like, yeah, if we would have taken even one more egg, like during the retrieval, like that wouldn't have been her. And so like he's like,
why?
I
Oh my
totally
God.
believe in all, so we share that similar mindset, which I love. And I think it then helps me to even like moving forward. It's
Yeah.
like, don't force anything, like I'll wait for this to come back. I mean, it's very unlikely that we will, but we didn't know if we do have this and we do need to do IVF. Well, that's no different than us having that information 2 years ago, and then we would have never tried and we would have never had our completely normal daughter.
Yeah.
Now, we were naive, right? If we have this, like, because going into it, I'm going to be so scared to till you get the NIP and the anatomy and all of
Okay,
that
that's
stuff.
what I was gonna ask. So, because obviously you've already gone through IVF and that embryo is genetically normal, quote unquote. Like, can this test for that though? Like the normal
So
PET or
it's
whatever.
so funny you said that. So I think listeners that have balanced translocation rearrangement inversion will probably have a better answer than me. My REI said yes. He said what the PGT type of PGT testing we did with my normal female, he said it would have picked this up. So that's interesting. And then my MFM said no, it would not have. He said it would not have picked that up at all. You would have
I was
had
gonna say then, like, what is the answer to your miscarriage then? I mean, I
the
get transfers don't work. Hello, like I know that,
right. And
but
that's
like,
I think you're spot on. So like I kind of feel the same way because we've tested, okay, let me make sure. I think we've tested four, no, three. That can't be right. Let me walk through them. We've tested a couple of our miscarriages. The first, and this is exactly what I asked the REI. The very first one was came back normal. I had an actual DNC. They sent the testing in to the same company doing the same test that I just had, came back normal male embryo. So it's only been three. I feel like it was four for some reason. Oh, Brooklyn, duh. Okay. So
okay,
I'm like, I feel like I knew the results of work. Okay. And then we did IVF, and it was to your point, we did PGT testing. And now there are different types of PGT testing, like the A and that, like there's extra letters on
yeah,
it. And I think that's what people do with balanced translocation is there's just like a different type of testing.
that makes sense.
And if you know, you'll know what chromosome it's on. So then they can kind of look at that a little bit deeper, but the MFM's like, yeah, but they're only taking a small sample. Anyways, that's well above my head. Maybe one day I'll learn it. So that was normal. Then I had Brooklyn, and she is like, to my understanding, like super doesn't have any issues, like
Just
just was a normal pregnancy as much as normal could be. And then this was my fourth genetic tested anything, and it was abnormal. So to me, I'm like, I feel like out of 8 pregnancies, to say that like almost 50% were quote unquote normal, I just feel like it would be weird to have all of a sudden this balanced inversion or balanced translocation.
yeah,
Like,
unless the testing just wasn't like well
ex
enough to be able
exactly.
to find this.
That's exactly what
Because
they
it could
said.
have been there for all of them and it just looked normal.
Yep,
Would
that's
make the most sense to me.
me
Like I
too.
can have this, and then like
Yeah,
really Brooklyn is just a freaking miracle.
right. And
She
when
was
you
just like
watch
a
this.
strong fighter. Like
Right. Okay. And so then that you make another great point. So I'm like, well, is it more likely that it's Josh because he has all this autoimmune issues and like, you know, anyways, like we went through a whole family history, or is it me? And they actually said it would be really shocking for it to be the male just because we've gotten pregnant so many times and because we've had so many miscarriages. So again, I'm speaking to my situation because it's always survival of the fittest. So it would be like the best sperm. And I don't understand this because I don't understand about how our DNA travels and all the stuff. But it's like it's most likely in the egg because it's happening so many times. But I don't understand all that stuff. So I
like
guess
the
we'll
best
see.
sperm would come out and like
I
win.
guess, but
But
like,
like
does the sperm
unless
only
all of his sperm is has it, then like
right? But then I'm also thinking like, but don't you I don't know. Maybe this is so like basic biology. Like, do you carry your two chromosomes in sperm? It's not like one sperm only has one chromosome.
that's fair. Yeah, I
So
don't know.
I don't get that at all. So I guess we will
We need like a
see.
genetic counselor or someone on the
I
podcast. That would be so
we
sick.
do. I
That
can
would be
bring
a
my
good one.
genetic. Okay, yeah, I can
Yeah,
bring
I feel like
Taylor on.
that would be so cool.
Yeah, she worked for LabCorp. Now she's worked for a high risk clinic for a long time. And she's just been like my texts to her have been hilarious. I'm like, oh, da, da, da,
God,
da."
no, but like, I mean, it's way
Yeah.
over my head. I feel like she could explain so many things. That would be
She
so cool.
can. Well, I think she can. She tried to me, and I really feel like I really get a lot of things. And some of this was just like completely going over my head. I'm like, I don't understand.
Can you tell this joke
Um,
for me?
I know. I'm like, can you like, and she even like was so cute. She sent me a text like with sticky notes trying to explain
Oh my
what it
God,
looks
no, that's
like,
very cute.
drawing it out. But basically, bottom line is we got to figure that out, right? And I think where IVF comes into play, could we get pregnant and have like a baby the same outcome as Brooklyn? Yeah, we can with this. You can. it gets tricky because if it is a genetic issue, now we are completely aware that there is a very, well, they will give us a percentage. So the genetic counselor and the REI and the MFM, it'll all be the same calculation, but they will say, okay, you have a 4% chance that you could have a baby, stillborn baby, or you have a 4% chance that they'll be like, they'll need life support or whatever. Or they could come back and say, you have a 37% chance that that's the case. And that's what we're waiting on to make our decision. So once we kind of, and I think too, a lot of people that are religious and like a lot of people that like really rely on faith, I think that can be hard to hear because you're just like, well, like what's the calculator? What's the percentage? And like, God's hand is in this. I agree with both sides. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're looking at me and saying you're gonna have like over 30% chance to have like a really, really poor outcome, I don't want, and this is exactly what I've told all of my doctors, I don't want to be sitting in a 20-week anatomy scan
And
and
get
looking at that. I don't want to be forced
that's
in
fair.
that
Yeah.
situation. And so that's why IVF is on the table for our family. I'm like, if you come back, it's going to be dependent on that percentage. And again, it could be 0% because we don't have this,
Yeah.
but everybody strongly thinks that we do.
That is crazy. And all because you decided to test
I know.
this embryo, like this
I
little
know.
baby that you
Yeah.
could possibly have found the answers after years of this.
Yeah,
Isn't
which
that
is just
wild?
it's just really wild. And I think that just like goes to show to be your own advocate because nobody was telling me, hey, if you go home and like we got the heartbeat on a Thursday, right? And so like I wasn't like nobody was like preparing me for this experience. And so I just like had taken it into my own hand and I can't find the page now. It used to be this like miscarriage Instagram and it was so beautiful and I want to recreate it, but like she had a little PDF for like a miscarriage kit at home and it was just like it was supplies at home, like it was like a colander and it was like pretty graphic, but she walked you through how to catch your baby at home, what to say to your OB when you made the call, and like the cost of the test. I haven't gotten the bill yet, but I don't think it's like insanely expensive. And it just walked you through it. And I had read that at one point in my life. And so I just find that so important of like,
It's so
you
helpful.
don't have to have a DNC. And I think that helps when you're making a decision if you've had a miscarriage, a missed miscarriage. You don't have to have the DNC to test the baby. And I don't think a lot of doctors are going to tell you that.
No, yeah, no. I mean, I never even knew that would be a choice.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't know. I've literally worked in women's health for over 10 years and I've had 8 pregnancies. I texted my doctor. I'm like, I did all this. Like, can you test it? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even know, like, if it's not, it sounds really bad, but like, still good to like send off, like, you
Right.
didn't even find results still because of like, I don't
Right.
know, like, I don't know. That's
But
crazy.
like, and then to your point too, this is like a super graphic episode, but like you pass the sac, like you pass the gestational sac and the baby is in the sac. And so like a lot of women, like I truly was like, I kind of want to see the baby. Like I kind of want to see the baby. I want to have like a ceremony and all that. But like I also didn't want to touch anything because I didn't want to like not, it's just it's just so touchy on like how you handle that. And this might be like a horrible idea to some person. Some person be like,
Oh, yeah. Some people would, yeah,
absolutely am I not going to do that and then take it into the doctor and have it like
yeah,
dissected was the word that's on the lab report. Like, so yeah, I mean, it is gruesome. And I think it's just such a personal choice. And,
for sure.
I think that's even just like, with your embryos and like donating them to science of like, what are you comfortable with at what level? And I really think I mean, maybe this is really bad to say, but like, it's almost like, the specific pregnancy too. Like like I don't know, someone said to me like how beautiful it is that like that baby came to you to potentially give you the answer to something that you've struggled with for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think when you get
Well,
a
that
normal,
was like her purpose.
yeah, that's exactly what she said. And it was actually really sweet. And I've thought about it a lot this
Right.
week. I know it was like her purpose to, and that's if you read the book Spirit Babies too, they talk a lot about that as well. So like Was I ready to do that for like my first 7 pregnancies? No, I couldn't have done it. I literally couldn't have done it. It literally was not even a thought that I could have done, but it's an option. It's out there. And like, wow, how powerful is it that it could give not only me and Josh answers, but like, if this is something, it can give Brooklyn answers. And
Wow.
so when she's, ready to have a baby, that she's not faced with the same thing if she also is a carrier of this.
No, that's
It's just
incredible. I
pretty
mean, you can
cool.
just potentially help her from a lifetime of
Yeah.
like pain,
Yeah.
to be
Of
honest.
just like
Yeah.
knowing.
And not
Yeah.
having any answers. And like you
Yeah.
guys finding this out now, I mean, that's
Yeah.
wow.
So it's crazy. My phone said, so I have no idea how
Oh,
long we've been
no, you're
chatting. I
fine.
just like went.
No, I mean, thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone I feel like has been so intrigued. And so many people have like, I feel like reached out to you about like all the
Yeah.
things that you
So
posted.
what's so cool is, and you can go in our DMs. I know it's so weird because we both have the account and sometimes you can see DMs and it's like whoever gets to
Yeah,
it
whoever
first.
gets to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was a 2 girls that reached out that literally said they had balanced inversion, which is really what they're thinking that like this is. And just to kind of hear, one's like, oh, there's a Facebook support group for it. Like it was so cool. And
Yeah.
then another girl reached out and I need to connect with her. I think I was supposed to connect with her this week, but gosh, it's been so busy. She's actually she works for, I don't know if she's a genetic counselor or a cytogeneticist, which is the person that actually reads these results. And so she said she's local and she's like, oh my gosh, like let's connect. I can talk you through this. I can explain some of this, which is maybe we get
Amazing.
her
Oh my
on the
gosh.
podcast too.
Yes, that would be so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So I feel like I share because I mean, neither you or I like I thought if I was gonna like have a hard time having another baby, it would be the exact same experience to have Brooklyn, and it has just been polar opposite from the start. So
Crazy. Oh my
who
gosh.
knows?
Okay, so
And
you're
then
how many weeks do you still think you have? Like 3, you said, until you find out
I
anything?
haven't even done it.
Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
even done the test.
You have to do the blood
But
work.
no,
Yeah,
no, no. But
tomorrow
I'm
morning,
gonna
go get your blood done. I want to
I
know.
know. I know. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. Yeah, so probably like next month, like we'll find out. But what was I gonna say? Um, I don't even know. Oh, the other thing is like let's just like play devil's advocate. I don't have it. The Lovenox worked. The baby got the heartbeat because that was the farthest I've gotten in a pregnancy
Yeah,
other
yeah,
than
yeah. That's what.
Brooklyn,
Yeah.
and one other. But it was pretty far. Like I'd gotten pretty far. So the Lovenox worked and it was unfortunately like an abnormal
Weird
embryo
chromosome.
wasn't, yeah. And so it was like it wasn't gonna work anyways. And so we're back to square zero if this comes back negative. But
I also think it's so crazy that like you need the Lovenox, and then this was just a
yeah,
weird fluke type situation, and then you do the Lovenox
I
another time and it works. I mean,
I
like,
know.
who the heck knows? That's
I
wild.
know. Or in like this Christmas, I'll be like, hey guys, gearing up for IVF,
You
right?
know, yeah, honestly. Oh, well, we could be doing
Together.
things similar time. Who knows?
Yeah. Do you want
Oh
to do you
my
want to
God.
share anything with you? Has there been any, did you start on estrogen? Is that right?
I'm just on birth control, which I freaking hate. It just like gives me all I like get pissy. Like I don't know if anyone else experiences it. I get very mad. I have like not like rage. I wouldn't say
Yeah.
that. Like I have a short fuse. So like I go 0 to 100 and I just like
Does
after
Chris notice?
oh, I'm sure. He doesn't say
See,
anything.
Chris is like such a saint because you're like, I'm sure. Like Josh would be like, the birth control makes you such a brat.
I mean, I'm sure I mean, yeah, I just like have a really short like fuse. Like I
Oh, I
literally
get it.
things that like normally don't piss me off. I'm like, oh, it's so annoying. And I just like get
When you're probably irritated, like I remember I was irritated to go on birth control. It's so counterintuitive to go on birth control for IVF because
get
you just
like
don't
have
want to
faith.
take it at all.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a whole mind up. But no, nothing's changed. I'm just on that. And then I'll start estrogen, I think, in 2 weeks. I got my calendar. And then that's just
Hey.
for the protocol stuff or the procedures in July. So
Oh
I have
my
to like go
gosh.
on all of that. I have to do the estradiol or whatever to do the DNC and the Emma and Alice
Oh my
thing.
gosh. I'm like really excited for you to get those results though.
Same, but I'm convinced something's gonna be wrong, which is like good to a sense because then I get like some kind of answer, but then it just pushes everything back more, and then I'm
I
like,
know, I know. See, and that's what's so different, like between where my headspace is now to where it was before, is like I was where you were of like like time was like such like an
Yeah.
intrusive thought every single day. And like I think I don't know why, but I'm just thankful because all my tests too take a long time. But I'm just like,
Yeah.
because my mom's like, aren't you anxious? Like, aren't you gonna go get the blood work? Da, da, da. I'm like, you know,
When it happens, it
all
happens.
right
Yeah.
now. And like I think
Yeah.
too, like so my REI, he has one daughter and that's it. And so like it was hilarious with us having the conversation. I was like, I really do want another kid. And he is like, yeah, I mean, but it was just funny because he's like, yeah, I have one. Like, one
Yeah.
was enough for me. And so that
Well,
was
we're
so
good.
nice, yeah, to hear his opinion of like, look, one kid's great. And like
Yeah.
kind of go that way. And then my MFM, his kids are 4 years apart too. And so just to be like that constant,
Careful.
like,
Yeah.
reminder of like, look, a 4 year age gap is great. Look, one
Yeah.
kid is great. Like, I think it's
You're
just like
like, okay, either one
thankful.
is
Yeah.
gonna be fine. Like
Yes.
whatever
I'm like,
it
okay,
is.
all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny. I'm still constantly joking around to everyone that I talk to that Ben's an only child and will be an only child. I even talked to 2 private schools this past week to get him on the wait
Amanda.
list for
Amanda.
kindergarten, which
No,
if we have multiple kids, I don't think he's gonna go to like this really expensive private school. But if he's an only child, he's getting everything.
that's so
So,
funny. You're
yeah, it's
wild.
just how I
But I
handle.
like I think if I had an embryo ready to go, I would too be like, oh my gosh, let's go. I want to know. Because you just want to know.
I
You're
just
like, I
want to
just
know. Like, I just genuinely like. Obviously, I pray so much that like it works, and he has a
right,
sibling because that's like obviously dreams. But like, I either just want to know, okay, like I'm pregnant and we're having another
right,
baby, and like let's do it, or I want to like process and grieve. Okay, like we are one only child family, and like let's just move on and now live our life. Like I just want
right.
to know the answer.
I totally get that. And I
Yeah,
feel like I'm in that stage where you were, but when we were talking earlier this season, we are like, I'm good. I don't really
yeah,
know, because
yeah,
I'm not in
yeah,
it yet.
yeah,
Like I'm
exactly.
in it, but not really in it.
Yeah, no, for sure. So crazy. We'll know more in a couple weeks, honestly, for both of us. Like
Yeah.
we'll probably get results around the same time of both things.
Oh, well,
So
it's so funny. Remember we started the season. We're like, what are we gonna talk about? Like on our episodes, we're so boring. What are we gonna
literally
say?
jokes on us. Who the heck would have thought all of this? Not me.
Not me either.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. But yeah, so that's our update with Kat and all the things, which is so wild. So we'll obviously keep everyone still in the loop because now the people
Yeah.
need.
And no, I was gonna say, and please like DM me or our podcast directly. Like if I shared anything that was just totally, completely inaccurate, like we'll make sure we
Yeah.
fix it.
No, or
But
like anything that you have
no,
questions on about this, like if you have gotten this diagnosis or want to talk to Kat about, or you already have this diagnosis and want to share more information, like
yes.
please message us. We want to know
Yes,
all.
clearly we need an episode on this because I think we've had them, but we just haven't like really dug into it.